Every morning, you wake up and do everything you've been told will change your life. You meditate. You write in your gratitude journal. You speak your affirmations into the mirror with a smile that sometimes feels just a little too forced. You keep your vibration high. You visualize your dreams. You whisper to the universe that you're ready. And yet, when you look around, life feels oddly familiar. The faces might change, but the story doesn't. The emotions, the same cycles of hope, disappointment, and waiting for something new to finally arrive. You can't help but wonder, what am I doing wrong? But the truth is, you're not doing anything wrong. You're not broken. You're not failing. The problem isn't in your actions or your affirmations. It's in the frequency you're unconsciously transmitting to the field around you. Because the quantum universe doesn't respond to your words, it mirrors your vibration. It listens, not to what you say, but to what you are. And until that frequency changes, reality will continue to replay itself, just with different characters, different settings, but the same energy underneath. It's like living in a movie where you keep changing costumes, but never rewriting the script. You see, your life isn't repeating because you lack effort. It's repeating because your nervous system still believes the old story is home. Your body, this beautiful, intelligent vessel, doesn't seek happiness. It seeks familiarity. It recreates what feels safe, even if that safety comes wrapped in limitation, scarcity, or pain. Every emotion, every reaction becomes a signal broadcast into the quantum field saying, "This is who I am. This is what I expect." And the field, utterly neutral, simply reflects it back with perfect accuracy. Imagine a radio tuned to a single station. You can shout, you can beg for another song, but unless you turn the dial, the same melody keeps playing. That's how the field works. It doesn't reward effort. It responds to resonance. Many people try to manifest by thinking harder, speaking louder, visualizing longer. But manifestation isn't about how much effort you apply. It's about how coherent your energy is. Coherence means every part of you, your mind, your emotions, your body is aligned, broadcasting one clear signal. When your thoughts say "I am abundant," but your nervous system still trembles in fear of lack, your signal is fractured, and the universe, ever faithful, mirrors that split signal back as mixed results. Some progress, then regression, a glimpse of hope, followed by silence. Let's go deeper. Your body doesn't just live in the present. It carries the memories of your entire emotional history. Every disappointment, every heartbreak, every not enough has been recorded in your cells. So when you set a new intention, the mind might say yes, but the body whispers danger. It's not trying to sabotage you, it's trying to protect you from the unknown. And this is where most people get stuck. They want to move into a higher frequency, but their body hasn't yet learned how to feel safe in peace, joy, or success. So the real work is not to fight the old story, but to teach your body that the new story is safe, to breathe through the moments of resistance, to allow the fear without letting it steer, to become still enough for your system to remember peace is not a threat. It's your natural state. There comes a moment in every transformation when life feels like it's falling apart. Old patterns resurface. Old emotions rise to the surface. You might think you're going backwards, but you're not. You're standing at the edge of a quantum jump. This is the paradox of awakening. Before you step into a new reality, the old one will try its best to pull you back. Not because you're failing, but because the frequency that built your old world is dissolving. Your mind will call it chaos, but your soul knows it's renewal. And if you can stay present, if you can breathe through the confusion instead of running back to the familiar, you'll feel it, the shift, like a quiet dawn breaking after the longest night. And then there's the silence that follows the void, that strange, in-between space where nothing seems to move. and yet everything is rearranging itself beneath the surface. It feels empty. But it's not. It's the womb of creation, the moment before the seed breaks the soil. Most people mistake this silence for failure and rush back to doing, fixing, forcing. But if you can stay still, if you can let the stillness do its work, reality will begin to reassemble around your new vibration. It's like watching ripples form on a calm lake after you've stopped struggling. The signs will begin to show small synchronicities, subtle alignments. You'll think of someone, and they'll call. You'll take a wrong turn, and it will lead you exactly where you needed to be. These aren't coincidences, they're reflections. Tiny confirmations that your inner signal is becoming coherent. The universe is whispering, "I hear you now." But here's the secret. Synchronicities aren't the goal, they're the echo. The real power lies in maintaining your frequency even when the outer evidence hasn't appeared yet. That's where faith becomes vibration, and vibration becomes matter. And faith isn't blind belief. Faith is resonance with what already exists in the unseen. It's the quiet confidence that your desired reality is not something to chase, it's something to tune into. Because in the quantum field, every version of you already exists. The one who's healed, the one who's free, the one who's in peace. You don't create that version. You become it by aligning your energy with its frequency. The jump doesn't happen in the future. It happens the moment you stop identifying with the frequency of who you used to be. So, how do you shift? Not by forcing one, not by pretending, but by allow the emotions to surface, the discomfort to speak, the resistance to tremble and stay present anyway. Every moment, you witness instead of react. You dissolve another thread of the old pattern. You stop rehearsing pain and start embodying peace. This is not about perfection. It's about coherence. Even 10 seconds of true presence carries more power than 10 hours of effort. Because in those 10 seconds, you are aligned, you are whole, and the universe feels you clearly. And eventually, something miraculous happens. You stop trying to make it happen, and it starts happening. Not because you've learned more techniques or recited better affirmations, but because you've become transparent enough for life to flow through you, like a river that no longer fights the current. You discover that what you've been chasing has been trying to reach you all along. That's the essence of quantum transformation. Not forcing the world to change, but changing the frequency through which you perceive it. When the frequency shifts, the reflection cannot help but follow. So, if life still feels like an endless loop, pause it. Not to fix it, but to feel it. Breathe. Observe. Let the old pattern unravel on its own. Because the moment you stop fighting for a new reality, you begin allowing it. Reality doesn't transform through control, it transforms through coherence. Through the gentle, steady realization that you are not separate from the universe that's reflecting you. You are the wave and the ocean, the dream and the dreamer, the signal and the field. And when you finally remember that, yesterday loses its grip, and tomorrow begins to bloom right here, in this breath. 1. When the body becomes the subconscious. There's a quiet truth many people overlook. Your mind doesn't live only in your head, it lives in your body. Your body is not just a vessel carrying you through life. It is a living archive, a library of every emotion you've ever felt, every fear you've ever buried, every memory your mind decided to forget, but your nervous system could not. Each time you react through anger, defensiveness, shame, or fear, your body takes notes. It doesn't judge, it simply remembers. And when tomorrow arrives, it plays those memories back again, like a song that's been on repeat for years. This is why so many people feel stuck even when they've learned all the right ideas. The brain says, "I'm free," but the body whispers, "I don't believe you yet." It's not because the body is disobedient, it's because it was built to protect you. And protection, for the body, means familiarity. It will recreate the emotional conditions it knows, even when those conditions cause pain, because pain that's familiar feels safer than peace. That's new. So you keep waking up to the same reality, not because your thoughts are wrong, but because your body hasn't yet learned how to feel safe outside the old one. If you've ever tried to change your life only to find yourself pulled back by invisible resistance, you've met this truth firsthand. That resistance isn't laziness or weakness. It's your nervous system doing its job, clinging to what it understands. When you try to embody peace after decades of anxiety, the body interprets calm as danger. It doesn't trust stillness, because stillness was never safe before. That's why affirmations alone can't transform you. You can speak the words, you can think the thoughts, but if the body is still wired to expect chaos, it will keep manifesting circumstances that match chaos. Because energy seeks coherence, what is within must align with what appears without. The key, then, isn't to fight the body, but to retrain it. To teach your body that safety doesn't only live in survival, it lives in openness, in peace, in allowing joy without bracing for its end. This isn't a mental exercise. It's physical. When fear rises, instead of pushing it away, breathe into it. Let your body know we're safe now. When anxiety comes, don't resist it. Place a hand on your heart. Feel the pulse beneath your palm, and remind your system that this moment is not a threat. Little by little, your body begins to unlearn its old rhythm. It's like training a frightened animal. You can't yell at it to relax. You can't lecture it into trust. You sit beside it, quietly, until it learns that your presence means calm. That's what you do. For your own nervous system, you become the gentle presence that teaches it a new frequency. Every time you choose patience over panic, you send a new message through your cells. Every breath taken in awareness rewires a thread of your biology. This is not poetic metaphor. It's neuroplasticity. Your body literally reorganizes around your most consistent emotional state. The field around you listens to that reorganization. It's not your words that broadcast into the quantum field. It's the vibration that your body sustains when you're not thinking about it. That's what the universe mirrors back. So if your body still vibrates with fear, you'll meet circumstances that validate fear. If your body learns peace, the world rearranges itself to mirror peace. The first time you begin to feel different, it may not feel comfortable. You might find yourself waiting for something to go wrong, because that's what the body expects. But stay with it. Let peace feel awkward. Let joy feel undeserved. Let safety feel strange. Because that strangeness is the sound of your cells retuning. You are teaching the oldest parts of you that calm does not mean collapse, that stillness does not mean danger. And with each repetition, your body learns. It learns that expansion is safe, that ease is allowed, that love doesn't always have to hurt. When your body finally believes that, something extraordinary happens. The external world shifts without effort. The people you meet feel lighter. The conversations soften. Opportunities appear not because you've forced them, but because your field has changed. Think of yourself like a musical instrument. For years, you've been tuned to a certain key, perhaps one of survival, fear, or unworthiness. Now, you are retuning. At first, it sounds dissonant. The old notes clash with the new ones. But as you keep practicing this gentler frequency, breathing into your safety, letting your body rest, refusing to rush something, clicks. The harmony returns. You begin to vibrate with coherence. And the world, ever faithful to your tone, starts playing along. This is the deeper meaning of embodiment. It's not about having perfect posture or radiating confidence. It's about inhabiting yourself fully, to live not from your head, but from your being, to let every cell know it's allowed to participate in the life you're creating, because transformation isn't a thought. You think it's a feeling you stabilize, and the body is the bridge. When your mind and body finally speak the same language, reality listens. So today, don't rush to change your thoughts. Start by softening into your body. Feel the ground under your feet, the breath in your lungs, the quiet pulse of life that's been holding you since before you could name it. That pulse is your connection to everything. It doesn't need to be forced, or earned, or proven. It just needs to be felt. You don't have to transcend your humanity to find enlightenment. You only need to fully inhabit it. Because the divine doesn't live somewhere above the body, it lives through it. It speaks through the warmth in your chest, through the tears that cleanse, through the deep breath that says, "I'm safe now." When your body finally believes that, the universe responds in kind. Not through miracles that fall from the sky, but through the quiet reordering of your world to match the peace you've allowed inside. And in that moment, without struggle, without effort, you realize that heaven was never a destination. It was always a vibration, waiting to be remembered, inside your very own skin. 2. The mechanism of the energy loop. There's a moment when you start to realize that life isn't repeating itself by accident. It's not that fate has chosen you for the same heartbreak, the same struggle, the same pattern. It's that your energy keeps sending out the same signal, and the universe, faithful, impartial, keeps echoing it back. You are, in a sense, living inside an energetic copy of yourself. Different years, new faces, new settings, but beneath it all, the same vibration hums quietly in the background, orchestrating familiar experiences. Your subconscious mind, ancient and loyal, values safety over freedom. To it, what's known feels safe, and what's new feels dangerous. Even when the known is painful, it will choose pain over uncertainty. That's the strange mercy of the subconscious. It will rebuild the prison it understands, rather than step into a landscape it cannot predict. And so, day after day, the field around you keeps responding to the same internal broadcast. This is my reality. This is what I know. The universe simply says, "Understood," and mirrors it back without judgment. It doesn't punish. It doesn't test. It reflects. When you try to change your life through effort alone, through new habits, new plans, new affirmations, you might see small improvements. But if the energy underneath remains unchanged, the pattern soon reasserts itself. That's why so many people feel like they're decorating the old reality, not truly transforming it. You can repaint the walls of your life, but if the foundation hums with fear or lack, that vibration will keep bleeding through the paint. The subconscious is like a master architect rebuilding from the same blueprint over and over. You might think you've started a new project, but beneath the surface, the same walls, the same doors, the same emotional architecture appear again. And until that blueprint changes, the scenery might shift. But the story does not. It's not your fault. These patterns are not curses. They are echoes of emotional imprints that once protected you. A child who learned that love required pleasing others might grow into an adult who overgives and feels unseen. A person who equated survival with constant struggle might unconsciously recreate difficulty just to feel alive. And the universe, infinitely neutral, simply says, "Yes, this is what you believe life to be." When you realize this, it can feel heavy, like discovering you've been carrying a weight that was never yours. But it's also liberating, because what was created unconsciously can be uncreated consciously. Awareness breaks the cycle. Imagine your life as a wheel that keeps turning on the same path. Every time you react the same way, get defensive, withdraw, self-doubt, overanalyze, you're giving that wheel another push. It's not malice, it's momentum. The body remembers, the mind repeats, and together they generate a magnetic field that attracts more of what's familiar. To interrupt this cycle, you don't need to break the wheel. You need to stop spinning it. You pause, even for a breath, and notice, ah, this is the pattern, the same fear, the same response, the same tension in my chest. The act of noticing already begins to dissolve it, because awareness introduces choice before awareness. You are a program. After awareness, you become the programmer. But be gentle here. The old patterns won't vanish overnight. They've been running for years, some for lifetimes. When you stop feeding them, they'll resist. They'll tempt you with familiar emotions, anger, guilt, doubt, because that's how they survive. Don't fight them. Just see them, feel them, let them move through. Patterns are like shadows. They lose power when brought into the light. The more you witness, without identifying, the weaker they become, until one day, you catch yourself in a moment that once would have triggered you. And instead of collapsing into reaction, you breathe, and the wheel doesn't turn. That's the moment everything begins to change. Let's be clear. The quantum field doesn't respond to your words. It responds to your state. If your new actions come from the same energy of fear, the result will carry that frequency. You might manifest opportunities, but they'll still vibrate with anxiety. You might attract love, but it'll mirror your insecurity. Because the field mirrors coherence, it can only reflect what is stable within you. To shift the reflection, you must shift the vibration. And that shift doesn't happen through effort, it happens through presence. Presence is the act of standing still long enough to feel what's been running you, to sense the hum of old energy without flinching. In that stillness, something softens. The subconscious, once driven by fear, begins to recognize a new possibility: safety within awareness. And as that safety grows, the energy loop loses its fuel. It's like watching a river that's carved the same path for centuries. You can't force it to change course overnight, but if you quietly redirect small currents, if you let new streams form where resistance once was, the river begins to reshape itself. And one day, you realize it's flowing differently, not by force, but by permission. This is what it means to break the energetic loop, not to wage war against your past self, but to stop feeding its rhythm, to replace effort with understanding, to trade control for connection. You begin to see that life was never against you. It was simply matching the energy you believed yourself to be. And as you forgive yourself for what you once didn't know, the field forgives too. The mirror clears. The reflection softens. Reality becomes fluid again. Like wet paint, you can shape with your awareness. Eventually, you start to notice subtler signs of change. Conversations feel lighter. You respond with calm, where you once reacted with fear. Even your breathing feels different, deeper, slower, grounded. That's how you know the blueprint is shifting. You no longer live by the echo of old energy. You're creating from a place that's alive, open, unguarded. And what's beautiful is that nothing outside you needs to change first. The world rearranges naturally around your new vibration. The people who resonate stay. Those who don't quietly drift away. Opportunities arise, not because you chased them, but because you finally stopped chasing. The cycle was never punishment. It was a lesson in awareness. And once you learn it, the repetition ends. So if you feel trapped in a loop right now, pause it. Don't rush to escape. The exit isn't somewhere else. It's right here. In this moment of awareness, look gently at the life repeating around you and say, I see it now. I understand why it's here. That understanding alone begins to melt the walls. Because the universe doesn't keep you stuck. It keeps you steady until you're ready to change your frequency. And when you do, when your energy finally shifts, the loop unravels effortlessly, like mist disappearing in morning light. That's the quiet miracle of healing. You don't conquer your past. You outgrow its vibration. And the moment you do, the reflection changes. And the same life that once felt like a prison becomes a doorway into infinite new realities. 3. The art of surrender, the beginning of every leap. There comes a moment in everyone's journey when you realize that the harder you try to control life, the more it slips through your fingers. You can plan, manifest, visualize, and repeat your affirmations like a mantra. But something remains stuck, like a door that won't open, no matter how hard you push. And then, almost by accident, you stop pushing, you exhale, you let go, and in that quiet, the door opens effortlessly, as if it had never been locked at all. That's the mystery of surrender. We've been taught that surrender means giving up, that it's a sign of weakness, of losing the fight. But true surrender isn't defeat, it's deep intelligence. It's the understanding that control is the language of fear, while allowing is the language of love. When you surrender, you're not abandoning your dreams. You're simply releasing the tension that was suffocating them. In the quantum field, energy doesn't respond to effort. It responds to openness. It mirrors not what you demand, but what you allow. When you're trying too hard to make something happen, what you're actually communicating to the field is, I don't trust it to happen unless I force it. That vibration of doubt blocks the very outcome you're chasing. But the moment you soften even a little, something begins to shift. It's as if the universe had been waiting for your hands to loosen their grip, so it could finally give you what was always meant for you. Surrender isn't a single act. It's a way of being. It's a decision you make moment by moment, especially in the quiet spaces where impatience begins to whisper. It's trusting that what's meant for you is already on its way, and that your only task is to remain aligned, not controlling, not micromanaging, just aligned. When you stop chasing, you start magnetizing. And what's extraordinary is how natural it feels when it happens. You're no longer moving against the current. You've become one with the flow. Think of it like floating in a river. When you resist, the water feels violent. It pushes against you, demanding effort. But when you surrender, when you allow the water to carry you, everything slows down. The current doesn't change, you do. And in that change, peace finds you. The human mind is addicted to control. It's terrified of uncertainty, so it clings to plans, routines, and timelines, believing that safety comes from knowing what's next. But life, the living, breathing intelligence that animates everything, doesn't move in straight lines. It dances, and when you try to choreograph the dance, you end up stepping on its feet. True creation doesn't happen through force. It unfolds through resonance. When your energy is soft, when you allow, when you breathe instead of demand, the quantum field reorganizes itself naturally around your new frequency. It's as though life had been waiting for your signal of trust. Trust is the language of surrender, and surrender is the frequency of freedom. There's a paradox in surrender that the mind struggles to grasp. You gain control only when you stop trying to control, because control operates at the level of fear, but surrender moves at the level of truth. When you try to force reality, you're telling the field that you don't yet believe it's safe to let go. But when you surrender, you declare, I'm safe now. I trust life to meet me halfway. That's not resignation, it's co-creation. It's not sitting passively and hoping for miracles. It's aligning so deeply with the energy of what you desire that the universe can finally meet you there. You stop pulling at the stem of the flower, and you let it bloom in its own time, because everything that grows in truth must unfold in peace. I remember a time when I fought for everything: love, success, meaning I clawed at them like they were locked behind glass. And the harder I tried, the further they drifted, until one day, I was simply too tired to fight. I sat in silence, not as a strategy, but because I had nothing left to prove. And in that stillness, something remarkable happened. I felt the quiet pulse of life moving without me. It didn't need my permission. It only needed my presence. That was the moment I learned what surrender really means. It's not collapsing in despair. It's relaxing into truth. It's realizing that the river has always known the way, and your struggle to steer it was never necessary. Surrender isn't about abandoning desire, it's about refining it. When you surrender, you're no longer asking life to bring you what your fear thinks you need. You're opening space for something larger, something more aligned with who you're becoming. It's like moving from wishing to allowing, from "I want it now" to "I'm ready when it's right." That shift changes everything. Because the quantum field doesn't speak in words, it speaks in vibration. And the vibration of trust is infinitely more powerful than the vibration of striving. Where striving says, "I don't have it yet," trust says, "It's already on its way." And life responds accordingly. Surrender doesn't mean everything suddenly becomes easy. It means you stop confusing resistance with progress. When challenges arise, instead of tightening, you breathe. You ask quietly, "What is life trying to teach me here?" And that question opens space for awareness instead of reaction. Because the truth is, pain doesn't come from what happens. It comes from our refusal to let it move through us. Surrender is not about liking what's happening. It's about allowing it to flow so it can transform. Every emotion, every delay, every loss becomes a current that carries you closer to coherence. You stop fighting the storm and realize that even the storm is part of the ocean. There's a strange beauty in the moment you finally let go. It's not dramatic. It doesn't feel like enlightenment. It feels like exhaling after holding your breath for too long. Your body relaxes, your thoughts quiet, and suddenly you can feel life again. Simple, rough, present. That's the real miracle of surrender. It gives life back its depth. When you're no longer chasing or resisting, the smallest things become profound. The way sunlight falls through a window, the sound of your heartbeat syncing with your breath. The ordinary becomes holy because you're finally here to witness it. And from that place of presence, creation flows without effort. New paths appear not because you forced them, but because your openness invited them. The right people arrive, the right opportunities unfold. You move not with anxiety, but with grace. To surrender is to remember that you were never meant to carry everything alone. There is an intelligence larger than you, woven into the fabric of your being. It moves the tides, grows the trees, orchestrates galaxies, and it's breathing through you right now. When you align with that rhythm, you stop fighting life and start dancing with it. You realize that life was never testing you. It was inviting you to trust. So the next time you feel the need to control, pause. Notice the tension in your body, breathe into it, and whisper quietly, "I release, I allow, I trust." Do this not as a trick to get what you want, but as a practice of remembering who you are, a being connected to everything, guided by something far wiser than your plans. In the end, surrender is not about giving up, it's about coming home. It's the gentle return to your natural state of harmony with existence. The mind calls it letting go, but the soul knows it as remembering. Remembering that you were never separate from the flow, that you were never abandoned by the universe, and that life has always been on your side, waiting patiently for you to open your hands. Because when you finally do, when you truly let go, not from despair, but from trust, you'll feel it. The energy that once held you captive begins to dissolve. The old frequencies lose their grip, and something new, tender, and alive, quietly steps in. That is the beginning of every quantum leap. Not force, not struggle, just the simple, sacred act of surrendering into what already loves you back. 4. Signs you are standing at the edge of a quantum leap. There's a strange, almost sacred moment that arrives before every true transformation. It rarely looks beautiful. It doesn't come wrapped in light or peace. In fact, it often looks like your life is falling apart. Things you thought you had healed begin to ache again. Old fears, long buried, crawl back to the surface. Patterns you were sure you'd outgrown reappear, whispering the same old stories. And in those moments, you might think, I'm going backward. But you're not. You're standing on the trembling edge of a new reality. This is what it feels like when the old frequency begins to dissolve. The energy that once defined your identity, your relationships, your sense of safety, it's dying. And like anything that's dying, it doesn't go quietly. It resists. It roars. It pulls you back toward the familiar because it doesn't yet understand that it's safe to let go. That's why, just before you step into a higher state of being, everything often feels unstable. It's not punishment, it's purification. You can think of it like the ocean. When a wave crashes onto the shore, it does so with great force before it finally melts back into the sea. Your old self is that wave thrashing, loud, refusing to disappear. But the ocean is always bigger. The stillness beneath the surface is always waiting. And when the wave finally surrenders, it doesn't die. It simply merges back into its source. That's what's happening within you when life begins to feel chaotic. The wave of your old frequency is breaking, and you are not the wave, you are the ocean remembering itself. One of the clearest signs that you're close to a leap is that everything in you feels stretched. You feel like you're standing between two worlds, the person you've been and the person you're becoming. One part of you clings to what's known, the habits, the stories, the emotional safety nets. The other part of you aches for freedom, for peace, for a life that vibrates with truth. This tension isn't failure, it's birth. Every transformation requires contraction before expansion. The caterpillar must feel its own ending before the butterfly can emerge. That pressure, you feel the confusion. The uncertainty is not a mistake. It's the signal that the energy is shifting, that the old container can no longer hold who you're becoming. Sometimes, this transition shows up through external chaos. Relationships end. Opportunities dissolve. Plan crumble. You might think the universe is working against you, but it's actually clearing the field. Anything built on the old vibration must fall away so the new frequency can stabilize. This dismantling isn't destruction, it's alignment. It's like pruning a tree. The cutting looks cruel, but it's the only way new life can grow. At other times, the shift is internal. You feel emotionally raw, unusually sensitive, easily overwhelmed. Memories rise out of nowhere, bringing with them emotions you can't quite name. You might cry without knowing why. You might wake in the middle of the night with a heart that feels too full. Don't judge it. This is your nervous system recalibrating, your energy field rearranging itself. It's the body's way of saying, we're moving to a higher frequency now, please. Be gentle. When you're on the edge of a leap, the mind becomes restless. It will try to analyze, to fix, to label every feeling as progress or failure. But the truth is, this phase can't be solved. It can only be felt. Trying to control it will only pull you back into the old vibration. Instead, breathe. Let yourself feel the discomfort without needing it to end. Because the moment you stop fighting it, the wave begins to dissolve. This is where courage takes on a quieter form, not in doing a pain, but in staying present. It's the courage to trust the process even when it doesn't make sense. To believe that just because you can't see the change doesn't mean it's not happening. Transformation always happens first in the invisible, long before it shows up in the visible. You might also notice that synchronicities start appearing more frequently around this time. It's as if the universe is whispering, you're close. Don't give up now. Repeating numbers, significant dreams, unexpected meetings. These are not coincidences. They're reflections of your energy starting to align with a new timeline. Even small, seemingly random events carry meaning. When you're this close to a shift, it's the field's way of saying, you're tuning in. But sometimes, right after these moments of magic, a wave of fear rushes in. That's normal too. The mind doesn't like losing control, and it senses that something big is happening. You may feel emotionally exhausted, detached, or even lost. Don't mistake this emptiness for regression. It's the void between frequencies. The old has ended, the new hasn't yet formed, and in that sacred in-between, you are being rewritten. This threshold often tests your faith, not faith in an external power, but faith in yourself, in your capacity to hold still while everything shifts. You'll be tempted to run, to go back to what feels stable, even if it's small. But stability built on old energy is not safety, it's stagnation. If you can stay where it's uncomfortable, if you can breathe through the shaking without collapsing into fear, you'll notice something subtle but profound. The chaos starts to quiet. The tension begins to soften. You start to feel new. Not because the outside world has changed yet, but because you have changed your frequency enough for reality to catch up. I've walked through that threshold many times, and it never looks graceful. Sometimes it feels like grief. Sometimes it feels like standing in the ashes of your own identity, unsure who you are without the old story. But every single time, what comes after is lighter. The space left behind by what dissolved becomes fertile ground for something extraordinary to grow. You realize that what you lost wasn't truth. It was the illusion that you needed control to be safe. If you're in that space right now, if life feels heavy, confusing, or uncertain, please know this. You're not breaking down. You're breaking open. You're not falling apart. You're falling through the walls of old vibration into a wider field of being. This is the edge of the quantum leap. It's the space where the caterpillar liquefies before it becomes the butterfly. It's the shaking bridge between who you were and who you're meant to be. The mind will call it chaos, but the soul knows it as birth. So don't run from this discomfort. Sit with it. Breathe through it. Hold yourself the way the ocean holds its waves, without judgment, without rushing the tide. You don't need to know how the leap will happen. You only need to stay open long enough for it to unfold. Because every leap begins with a breakdown of the old order. And if you can remain steady through the storm, you will wake one morning and realize that the world looks the same. But somehow, everything feels different. The air will feel lighter. The noise of your thoughts will be softer. And deep within your chest, you'll feel something new, pulsing a quiet, steady certainty. You made it. You've crossed the threshold. You are standing on a new shore. And though the path ahead may still be unfolding, you'll know without words, without proof, that the leap has already happened. Because peace, not struggle, is now your frequency. And once you reach that vibration, the universe can't help but rearrange itself to meet you there. 5. The void, the sacred space between worlds. There comes a time, after every deep transformation, when the noise suddenly falls away, the familiar emotions lose their grip, the old ambitions no longer move you. You wake up one morning and realize that everything feels quiet. Not peaceful in the way you expected, just empty. No clear direction. No passion. No certainty. Only stillness. This is the void. It is not punishment, nor failure. It is the natural pause between frequencies, the space where your old vibration has dissolved, but the new one has not yet taken form. It's a kind of cosmic silence, where everything that once defined you has fallen away, and yet nothing new has replaced it. If you find yourself there, don't rush to escape, because the void, though uncomfortable, is the purest creative field that exists. It's not darkness, it's unformed light. It's the space where infinite possibilities live, waiting for you to choose which one you will become. In the beginning, it doesn't feel sacred. It feels like confusion. You may feel disconnected from the world, uncertain of what's next, unable to feel excitement for anything. The mind panics, whispering, Something's wrong. I've lost my spark. I need to fix this. But that's only the old self trying to reassert control. It's searching for reference points that no longer exist. It's looking for the familiar frequency of struggle, identity, and purpose, and it can't find them. What's actually happening is far more profound. Your system is recalibrating to a new vibration. You're learning to live without the noise of who you were. The silence you feel isn't absence, it's expansion. The space you sense isn't emptiness, it's possibility. Think of a seed buried underground. Before it breaks open, it sits in total darkness. It cannot see the sky, cannot feel the sun, cannot yet imagine the bloom, but beneath that stillness, something miraculous is taking place. The shell softens, the old form dissolves, and the seed's hidden life begins to move. That darkness isn't death, it's preparation. The void works the same way. It's the incubation space of your next reality. It's where energy reorganizes before expression, where the formless becomes form. If you try to force your way out too soon, if you rush to fill the space with activity, distraction, or the next goal, you interrupt the gestation. You end up recreating something from the old energy, because you never allowed the new to be born. In the void, the most important thing you can do is nothing, not as passivity, but as presence, to stay with yourself, even when there's no clear path ahead, to let the uncertainty breathe without demanding resolution. This requires courage. Our culture glorifies movement, productivity, control, but the void asks you to surrender all of that, to trust in a rhythm larger than your plans. At first, you might feel like you're disappearing, like life has forgotten you. But the truth is the opposite. You're dissolving into the infinite intelligence that's been holding you all along. You're becoming part of the creative silence that builds worlds. When you learn to rest in the void, you begin to notice subtle shifts. The air feels different. Your thoughts slow down. You stop needing answers. And that's when insights begin to arrive softly, without effort, not as mental ideas, but as a knowing in your body, a quiet awareness that whispers. This is the way, this is how the universe speaks in the void, not through signs and fireworks, but through gentle resonance. You'll know it when you feel it. It won't shout, it will hum, like a low vibration aligning inside your chest. It will feel natural, familiar, and deeply alive. The new energy doesn't rush in with drama. It slides in quietly, like dawn entering a dark room. And suddenly, you realize the stillness wasn't emptiness. After all, it was spaciousness. The pause was not a void, it was a canvas. The most common mistake in this phase is trying to fill the space. We reach for distractions, relationships, or old goals, trying to prove that we're still doing something. But doing is the language of fear. Being is the language of creation. The void invites you to become fluent in being, to sit in the unknown and not collapse into panic, to let your nervous system learn that uncertainty is safe, because only when uncertainty feels safe can new possibilities appear. Every version of your future already exists in the quantum field, but only one can match the frequency you hold. If you fill the void with fear, you align with a reality built on fear. If you fill it with stillness and trust, you align with a reality built on peace. That's the quiet alchemy of the void. It doesn't require effort, only resonance. I've been through the void many times, and each time it taught me the same lesson. You cannot rush becoming. Life unfolds in its own sacred timing. When I tried to push, I only created resistance. When I stopped, when I breathed, and let the silence do its work, life moved again, slowly at first. Then all at once, new paths opened, new people arrived, and it felt effortless, like the universe had been waiting for me to stop struggling. That's the paradox. When you stop chasing, life starts chasing you. If you're in the void right now, Here's what I want you to know. You are not lost. You are being redefined. You are not behind. You are being rewritten. This pause isn't the end of your story. It's the comma between chapters. So, instead of asking, "When will this end?" ask, "What is being created through me now?" Instead of filling the silence, listen to it. Instead of doubting your progress, trust the unfolding. Because when you can hold still long enough, when you can rest inside that space without grasping for what's next, you'll begin to feel a quiet shift, a gentle pulse of life moving again. It might be small at first, just a spark of inspiration or a moment of peace. But that's how the new frequency begins to anchor. From there, reality reorganizes itself around you, not through struggle, but through alignment. The void is not a punishment, it's a passage. It's the sacred womb of the universe, where your new self is conceived. And like any birth, it requiert patience, stillness, and trust. Let yourself be held by it. Let yourself float in the unknowing, because the same silence that feels empty now will one day feel full of clarity, love, and direction that couldn't have emerged in the noise of the old world. And when that moment comes, you'll look back and realize that the void was never something to escape. It was grace in disguise. It was the space where you stopped trying to become and finally remembered who you already are. 6. Quantum synchronicity. When the universe begins to whisper, there's a gentle moment, somewhere after the stillness of the void, when life starts to move again, but not in the loud, chaotic way it used to. Instead, it begins to whisper. A series of small, almost imperceptible events start to unfold around you. A phone call from someone you were just thinking about. A random song with the exact words you needed to hear. A repeating number that keeps appearing wherever you look. You pause for a moment and think, "That's strange." But it isn't strange at all. It's the language of energy, the universe speaking back to you through synchronicity. When you begin to align with a new frequency, the field around you adjusts. Reality starts responding to the vibration you carry. Not as a coincidence, but as a reflection, the outer world rearranges itself to mirror your new inner coherence. It's not magic, it's communication. Synchronicity isn't about lucky accidents or divine tests. It's the way the quantum field whispers, "You're tuned in now." It's the feedback system of consciousness itself. When your thoughts, emotions, and energy begin to harmonize, the field becomes responsive, and you start to notice life feels like it's moving with you, not against you. Think of it like a radio. When your signal is scattered, full of noise and interference, all you hear is static. But when you fine-tune your frequency, suddenly, the message becomes clear. The broadcast was always there. You just weren't tuned to it. At first, synchronicities arrive like soft ripples. A phrase you read somewhere echoes something you've been contemplating. A chance encounter opens a door you didn't even know existed. You dream of someone, and the next day they call. These aren't random. They are reflections of the coherence you're cultivating. And the more consistent your vibration becomes, the more pronounced these reflections grow. You start noticing patterns, repeating numbers like 1111, 222, 444, a song that answers the question you asked in silence, an opportunity that aligns perfectly with an intention you released weeks ago. These are not miracles in the sense of something supernatural. They're evidence of something deeply natural, a universe that is alive, intelligent, and responsive to your state of being. But here's something important. Synchronicities are not rewards. They're confirmations. They don't mean you've arrived. They mean you're attuned. They're like road signs on a journey, not the destination itself, but gentle markers reminding you that you're traveling in the right direction. If you start chasing them, analyzing them, or depending on them for validation, the signal weakens again. Because now the focus shifts from being in alignment to needing proof that you are, and that need introduces resistance. Synchronicity flows through openness, not obsession, through trust, not tension. When I first began to experience synchronicities, I was enchanted by them. Every number, every coincidence felt like a secret code from the universe. But after a while, I noticed that the more I tried to interpret every sign, the more anxious I became. I realized that I wasn't listening anymore. I was grasping, and the grasping itself created static in my signal. Then one day, while sitting quietly, I understood. The signs were never meant to be chased. They were meant to remind me of my connection, not replace it. They were a mirror, not a map. When I relaxed again, when I stopped analyzing and simply lived, the synchronicities returned. Effortlessly. That's the paradox. The more you try to control the magic, the less it works. But when you let it move through you naturally, it becomes your second language. In the quantum field, everything communicates through resonance. Your frequency speaks first, before your words, before your thoughts. The field around you listens to your energy and organizes events accordingly. It's not judging, not rewarding, it's matching. So when you begin to feel those subtle alignments, it means you're resonating with clarity. It means your inner and outer realities are starting to harmonize. It's as if life itself has begun to dance to the same rhythm as your heart. You might notice more ease in your days. People show up at the perfect time. Conversations flow without effort. You start to realize you don't need to force life to work. It's already working in your favor. But synchronicity doesn't always arrive as ease. Sometimes it shows up as reverse synchronicity moments, when everything seems to fall apart at once. The job disappears. The relationship ends. The plan crumbles. And yet, if you look closely, even those disruptions have a strange perfection to them. They're not obstacles, they're rearrangements. They're the universe removing what no longer matches your frequency, even if your mind isn't ready to let it go. The same intelligence that sends you a lucky break will also send you a closed door when it's needed. Both are guidance. Both are love. Both are ways the field whispers. Not this way, this way. Learning to read synchronicity is less about interpretation and more about feeling. You don't need to decipher every symbol like a puzzle. You only need to notice how it makes you feel. If it brings calm, expansion, and a quiet sense of yes, that's alignment. If it triggers anxiety, urgency, or confusion, that's resistance. Your emotions are the translator between you and the universe. They let you know whether your energy is clear or clouded. So, instead of asking, "What does this sign mean?" try asking, "What part of me feels alive when I notice this?" That's where the real message lives. Synchronicity is, in truth, the natural rhythm of an awakened life. It's how the universe reminds you that separation was never real. You are not living in the field. You are the field, interacting with itself through form. The people you meet, the opportunities you attract, the numbers you see, all of them. Are you speaking to yourself in symbols? And as your awareness deepens, you begin to hear the language of your own soul, echoing through the world around you. It's not supernatural, it's intimacy. It's life responding to your presence, because you are finally present enough to notice. So, when the whispers come, when the universe begins to align small details so perfectly that you can't deny it, don't get lost in the wonder of it. Smile, acknowledge it, then carry on gently, knowing you are in rhythm with something vast and benevolent. Because the purpose of synchronicity is not to amaze you, it's to reassure you that you're not alone in the unfolding, that your frequency has found its match, that you're walking with the current now, not against it. And in that realization, you stop trying to control life and start participating in its quiet music. The universe doesn't shout when you're in alignment. It whispers. And if you're listening closely, you'll hear it everywhere. 7. The leap is not a moment, it's 1,000 quiet choices. For most of my life, I thought transformation would look like lightning, a sudden flash, a clear before and after one instant of awakening, where everything finally makes sense. I waited for that moment, worked for it, meditated for it, prayed for it. But what I discovered, after years of searching and stumbling, is that the quantum leap, the real one, doesn't arrive like thunder. It arrives like breath, soft, ordinary, so gentle. You might miss it if you're expecting fireworks. Because the leap is not an event. It's a series of small, deliberate choices made in the quiet corners of your day. Moments where you decide, again and again, to respond from awareness instead of old memory. Moments where you pause before reacting, where you soften instead of harden, where you choose trust over control. Each of those moments, each micro shift in your frequency, is a leap, not a single jump into another world, but a gradual slide into a new timeline. One breath, one choice, one heartbeat at a time. When we talk about quantum jumping, many people imagine a dramatic shift, a sudden jump from lack to abundance, from pain to peace, from darkness to light. But the universe doesn't work through spectacle. It works through coherence, and coherence is built choice by choice. Like laying down stepping stones across a river. You don't leap the whole distance at once. You find your balance with each step, and slowly, the other shore comes into view. Every time you choose to observe instead of react, you break one link in the chain of your old frequency. When something triggers you, and you breathe instead of fight, that's a leap. When fear rises and you choose to trust that life still holds you, that's a leap. When the world demands speed and you choose to move with presence, that's a leap. The changes are subtle at first, almost invisible. But over time, these micro decisions begin to accumulate, weaving a new energetic pattern in your field. You begin to live from response instead of reaction, from flow instead of friction. And without realizing it, you cross into a version of yourself that once seemed impossible. Transformation, then, isn't about doing something grand. It's about doing something different, and doing it with awareness. Because awareness itself is the bridge between realities. When you are aware, you reclaim your energy from the unconscious patterns that used to run your life. You stop being a passenger and become the pilot. You stop chasing the light and begin to be the light. Even the smallest conscious act, a deep breath, a kind word, a moment of stillness, ripples through the quantum field. It signals to the universe, I'm here, I'm awake, I choose differently now. And the universe, faithful as ever, begins to reorganize around your new choice. Think of your life as a river again. The water flows constantly, carrying you through time. Most people drift unconsciously, following the current carved by old thoughts and emotions. But the moment you decide to steer even slightly, you begin to alter the course. You don't need to turn the whole river at once. You only need to shift your paddle a little. Because over distance, even the smallest redirection creates an entirely new path. That's how reality changes, not through explosions, but through gentle, consistent reorientation, through steady, conscious steering toward the vibration of peace. I remember once sitting alone, exhausted by the idea of becoming my higher self. It felt impossible, like chasing the horizon. And then a simple thought appeared: what if I stopped trying to become and start choosing to be, right now, in small ways? So I began with what I could control: my presence in a single breath. I let myself feel gratitude for the cup of tea in my hands. I spoke kindly to my own reflection. I walked slower, listened deeper. None of it looked like transformation, but it felt like truth. And over time, something quiet but undeniable began to shift. The people around me responded differently. My body felt lighter. Life seemed to cooperate instead of resist, not because I had forced it to change, but because I had changed my frequency enough for reality to follow. That's the secret of the leap. It happens in the moments no one sees. The world teaches us to look for big gestures, breakthroughs, miracles, signs, but true miracles are subtle. They happen in the split second, when you catch yourself about to repeat an old pattern and you pause, when you choose compassion instead of defense, when you let silence be your answer, when you stop demanding that life prove itself to you and start trusting that it already knows. Those are the moments that rewrite timelines, because every time you choose presence over programming, you send a new signal into the field. You're saying, "I'm no longer the person who reacts this way," and the field responds, "Then you shall no longer live that story." Quantum leaps are cumulative. They build on each other until, one day, you wake up and realize that you no longer recognize your old self. The pain that once defined you feels distant, like a dream you can barely remember. The people and circumstances that used to trigger you no longer hold power. You don't even know when it happened, only that somewhere along the way, you became different. That's the quiet miracle of consistency in awareness. You didn't force reality to change. You became the change, one gentle choice at a time. Here's what most people overlook. Each choice carries its own frequency. Every thought, every action, every emotional response either stabilizes your energy or scatters it. When you choose peace, your field stabilizes. When you choose love, your signal strengthens. When you choose presence, coherence begins to form. And coherence is what collapses old realities and gives birth to new ones. This is the mechanics of the quantum jump, not magic, but physics of consciousness. When your internal energy becomes ordered and consistent, the outer world must rearrange to match it. It has no choice. The field mirrors coherence. But this process requires patience. Your mind will demand proof. Your ego will crave speed. And your old patterns will tempt you to return to what's familiar. Don't judge yourself when that happens. Just notice it and choose again. That choose again is the real work. It's the muscle that grows your alignment. One day, you'll realize that the leap never happened in a single moment of revelation. It was the accumulation of 1,000 quiet decisions to show up with awareness. 1,000 times you said yes to peace and no to fear. 1,000 times you forgave instead of fought. And all those small yeses built the bridge to the life you're living now. If you're waiting for your leap, stop waiting. Start choosing, because the leap isn't something that happens to you. It's something that happens through you. In every moment, you choose to embody the energy of the future you desire. Each breath of trust, each act of kindness, each pause before reaction, all of it moves you closer to that timeline. And one day, you'll look around and realize that the new world you longed for has quietly formed around you. Not because you forced it, but because you became compatible with it. That's the beauty of this path. It doesn't demand perfection. It only asks for awareness. It asks you to notice, to breathe, to choose over and over again. Because the leap is not a single event. It's a living rhythm, the quiet, continuous act of remembering who you truly are. And the more often you choose that remembrance, the lighter the world around you becomes, until effort dissolves into ease. And you realize you've already leapt. You've been leaping all along. 8. Energetic boundaries, the art of gentle discernment. As your energy begins to rise, something subtle yet profound happens. The world that once felt familiar starts to shift. Certain people, places, and habits no longer feel like home. Conversations that once thrilled you now leave you strangely empty. Situations you used to tolerate begin to weigh heavier on your heart. It's not that you've become better than anyone, or that others have become worse. It's simply that your vibration has changed, and energy recognizes resonance. When you grow, The frequencies that no longer match naturally begin to fade. And this fading is not rejection, it's evolution. But here's where many people struggle. We confuse letting go with abandoning love. We fear that walking away means we've failed in compassion. Yet true love is not about staying in what drains you. It's about honoring the truth that every soul moves at its own rhythm. Boundaries, at their core, are not walls to keep others out. They are doors to keep your energy sacred. They are acts of self-respect, written in quiet choices to protect your peace, to preserve your clarity, to nurture your light. When you begin living from a higher frequency, you'll notice that energy becomes your first language. You feel people before they speak. You sense the vibration of a room before you enter it. And as you tune in more deeply, you start to recognize what aligns with your expansion and what anchors you back into contraction. This awareness can be both liberating and lonely, because for a while, you'll find yourself in between worlds. The old one doesn't fit anymore, but the new one hasn't fully formed. You'll miss people who no longer meet you where you are, and you'll wonder if growing means you've somehow grown apart. But that's the quiet truth of awakening. Not everyone is meant to walk the same distance with you. Some souls come to share a chapter, not the whole story. And the lesson is not in holding tighter, it's in learning how to let go with grace. Energetic boundaries are not about judgment. They're about discernment, the art of recognizing what nourishes your soul and what depletes it. There's a softness in true discernment. It doesn't condemn. It simply acknowledges what resonates and what doesn't. It's like tuning an instrument. You're not angry at the strings that sound off-key. You just adjust them until the sound feels right again. In the same way, you don't need to cut people out or declare endings dramatically. You simply stop resonating with certain dynamics. You stop participating in conversations that shrink you. You stop investing energy where it's not received with respect. And naturally, those connections begin to dissolve. Not from rejection, but from energetic mismatch. Think of it as waves on the same ocean. Some travel beside you for a time, but eventually, their direction changes. You don't need to chase them or resent them. You simply keep flowing in the rhythm that feels true to your current tide. There's deep compassion in this kind of letting go, because you begin to see that everyone is exactly where they need to be for their own evolution. No one is behind, and no one is ahead. Each person is walking a sacred timeline perfectly designed for their lessons. When you honor that truth, you stop trying to fix, brisque, or convince others to see what you see. You stop exhausting yourself by pulling people into your light before they're ready to stand there. Instead, you love them where they are, and you love yourself enough to keep walking. That is the essence of energetic maturity, loving without attachment, caring without control, understanding that compassion doesn't mean proximity. You can hold someone in your heart and still choose distance in the physical. You can forgive deeply and still know that not every soul belongs in your immediate field. Energetic boundaries are also about protecting your own expansion. As your frequency rises, your system becomes more sensitive. You start to feel energy not just emotionally but physically in your body. Your breath, your sleep, your moods. Too much exposure to low vibrations, constant gossip, conflict, fear, or scarcity can feel like static in your field. And that static isn't bad. It's just incompatible with the signal you're cultivating. So you learn to listen to your body as a compass. Tightness in your chest might mean this space is too heavy. Lightness in your stomach might whisper, this place feels true. Your body never lies. It mirrors the clarity of your energy. Listening to those cues doesn't make you selfish. It makes you responsible. Because every time you choose alignment over obligation, you're telling the universe, I'm ready to hold my vibration with integrity. And the universe responds by sending more experiences that match your new coherence. This isn't about cutting ties with everything that challenges you. Growth still requires contrast. But there's a difference between contrast that teaches you and energy that drains you. One expands your awareness, the other diminishes your light. And learning to tell the difference is one of the highest forms of self-love. Setting energetic boundaries doesn't mean you close your heart. It means you open it more intelligently. You begin to give from overflow instead of depletion. You learn that real love doesn't mean giving yourself away, it means giving yourself fully. And that can only happen when your energy is stable. When your boundaries are healthy, your love becomes clean. It doesn't demand, it doesn't manipulate, it doesn't burn itself out trying to be enough. It simply radiates, and those who are ready will feel it and rise with it. At some point, you'll realize that every loss along this path was actually a refinement. The people who left, the habits that fell away, the places that stopped feeling like home, they weren't punishments. They were recalibrations. They made space for resonance. And one day, you'll find yourself surrounded by souls who don't drain you, but expand you. By conversations that don't exhaust you, but inspire you. By relationships that don't require you to dim your light to be loved. That's the gift of living with energetic clarity. You stop surviving in old frequencies and start thriving in truth. I remember a time when I tried to hold on to everything to keep everyone happy, to fix every situation, to make every connection last. But over time, I learned that love doesn't demand endurance. It asks for honesty. And sometimes honesty sounds like, "I love you, but this no longer feels right." That kind of truth can hurt in the beginning, but it heals everything it touches, because it's pure. It frees both you and the other person to align with what's next. It allows love to evolve instead of decay. So if you find yourself in that tender space where your world is shifting, where certain relationships feel heavy or conversations no longer resonate, trust that nothing has gone wrong. You're not becoming cold. You're becoming clear. You're not rejecting others. You're respecting your energy. And in that clarity, you'll discover that boundaries are not barriers. They're bridges. Bridges that connect you only to what supports your truth, your peace, your growth. Real love doesn't chain itself to fear or guilt. It moves freely, like light, illuminating what's real and letting go of what's not. So keep your heart open, but your energy clean. Walk with compassion, but walk with discernment. Because every time you honor your own vibration, you honor the entire field. And that, perhaps, is the quiet art of enlightenment, to love everyone deeply, but to only stand close to what keeps your soul alive. 9. The frequency of gratitude, the quietest revolution. Gratitude, when it's real, is not a ritual or a phrase we repeat at the end of the day. It is a frequency, a living vibration that reorganizes reality. Most people think of gratitude as something you do after something good happens, a thank you whispered when life meets your expectations. But true gratitude begins long before things make sense. It begins in the middle of uncertainty, when you have every reason to worry. And you still choose to whisper, "Thank you anyway." That's when gratitude becomes alchemy. Because the energy of gratitude doesn't wait for proof. It creates it. It tells the quantum field, "I already have what I need." And the field, which responds only to frequency, begins to match that vibration with form. Gratitude doesn't just describe abundance, it summons it. It turns not yet into already here. It transforms longing into readiness. And in that transformation, your life begins to move differently. When you hold gratitude as a feeling, not a performance, something deep within you softens. Resistance melts. You stop demanding that life prove its love to you. And instead, you start resonating with it. That shift from waiting to welcoming changes everything. Because every moment you feel grateful, even for what is incomplete, you stop transmitting the vibration of lack. And in the quantum field, absence and resistance are the same frequency. If you focus on what's missing, you're telling the field, "I'm not ready." But when you rest in gratitude, even when things aren't perfect, you emit a frequency of completion. You're saying, I already have, I already am, and the universe, obedient as always, adjusts accordingly. But let's be honest, gratitude isn't always easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. When you're in pain, gratitude can feel like betrayal. When you've lost something precious, being grateful can sound naive. I've been there. I've stood in the middle of the storm, angry at life for taking what I loved, too tired to say thank you. But it was in those moments that gratitude became most powerful, because it stopped being a concept and became a lifeline. Gratitude, in the dark, isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about acknowledging that even in loss, there is still something holding you. That even in grief, there is breath, and breath itself is grace. You don't have to feel grateful for the pain, but you can be grateful through it, grateful that you're still capable of feeling, of healing, of staying open, even when the heart wants to close. That's how gratitude becomes an act of courage. Think of your energy as a radio station. When you tune to complaint, you broadcast static distortion, confusion, dissonance. But when you tune to gratitude, the signal clears. Gratitude is coherence. It aligns your mind, body, and heart into harmony. And when your inner world becomes coherent, the outer world reflects that order back. You begin to notice small miracles, moments of ease, unexpected help, timing so perfect, it feels divine. These aren't coincidences. They're the physical expressions of your frequency. Gratitude rearranges your electromagnetic field. It literally changes what you attract, not through magic, but through resonance. The energy of gratitude says, I trust life, and life always trusts you back. Gratitude is also humility in its most elegant form. It dissolves the illusion of separation, the idea that you must fight your way to receive. When you are truly grateful, you stop trying to dominate life and start dancing with it. You stop clutching, and you start receiving. You realize that life was never withholding anything from you. It was waiting for you to vibrate at the frequency of receiving. That's why gratitude is not just a virtue, it's a technology. It shifts you from survival consciousness to creation consciousness. It moves you from how can I get to, how can I honor what's already here? And that single shift changes the geometry of your energy field. To live in gratitude doesn't mean denying pain. It means widening your vision enough to see that even pain serves a purpose, that behind every delay, every disappointment, there's something quietly rearranging for your good. When you live this way, you stop dividing life into blessings and burdens. You begin to see everything as instruction, some lessons gentle, some fierce, all sacred. I remember once being in a season where nothing seemed to work. Plan collapsed. Opportunities vanished. I felt betrayed by life. One night, I sat in the dark and said out loud, "Thank you anyway." Not because I meant it, but because I wanted to, and somehow, that was enough. Something shifted. The next day, I felt a strange calm. Nothing outside had changed, but I had. Gratitude had cracked open a window where despair had sealed all the doors. That's what it does. It doesn't fix life. It frees you to see it differently. Gratitude is not a trick to get what you want. It's a way of remembering that you already have more than you realize. It's the quiet awareness that even now, as you breathe, you're surrounded by miracles too ordinary to notice. The rhythm of your heartbeat, the sunlight through a window, the taste of water after thirst, the sound of your own laughter, returning after silence. When you start to notice those things, you begin to live differently. You move slower. You breathe deeper. You stop rushing to arrive because you realize you're already here. Gratitude grounds you in the present, the only place where creation actually happens. And in that presence, the field around you responds not to what you want, but to what you feel. If you feel enough, Life brings more things to feel enough about. If you feel lack, it mirrors that too. That's not punishment, it's precision. The universe doesn't give you what you ask for. It gives you what you match. And gratitude is the purest match for abundance. Living in gratitude is a practice, not perfection, but presence. Some days, you'll forget. You'll get lost in the noise of worry and want. But each time you remember, each time you pause and say, "Thank you," not as a habit, but as a truth, you shift again. You lift your frequency a little higher. You open the channel a little wider. And the flow returns. Over time, you realize that gratitude was never about what you had. It was about who you became when you remembered how much life had already given you. Gratitude refines your soul. It polishes the lens through which you see reality. And eventually, the world begins to reflect the light you carry. Not because it changed, but because you did. So, let gratitude become your daily frequency. Not a performance, but a quiet hum that runs beneath everything. Be grateful for the small things, and the big things will take care of themselves. Be grateful for the unknown, and it will reveal itself as blessing. Be grateful, not only when life is generous, but also when it's silent, because silence, too, is a form of grace. In the end, gratitude is not an act. It's a way of being. It's the song of the soul in tune with existence. It's the vibration that says, "I trust the unfolding." And when you live in that trust, when you radiate that quiet thankfulness, the universe cannot help but whisper back, "You're welcome." When you stop trying to make it happen, there comes a point on this strange, beautiful journey where you get tired. Tired of pushing, tired of forcing, tired of trying to make life obey your will. You've repeated the affirmations. You've visualized. You've done the work. And yet, something inside still feels restless, like a song that never resolves. Then, almost quietly, you begin to sense a truth that doesn't come from the mind but from the soul. You were never meant to make it happen. You were meant to allow it to happen. That's the moment when control gives way to clarity, when striving gives way to surrender, and when life finally has space to move through you instead of against you. Reality doesn't bloom from effort. It unfolds from awareness. You don't create the future in the way the mind imagines by pushing matter into form or forcing outcomes through willpower. You align with it. You become coherent with the frequency of the life you desire. And once you're in resonance with that vibration, the rest happens naturally, like music that plays itself once you've found the right note. The truth is, you don't need to prove anything to the universe. You don't need to convince it that you're ready, deserving, or capable. The universe already knows. It has always known. Your only task is to remember that knowing, to relax into it so fully that your energy says, "Without words, I trust." And the moment you do, the field rearranges itself effortlessly around your new signal. When you stop trying to force reality, something inside you softens. You realize that your life isn't waiting for you to conquer it. It's waiting for you to listen to it, to hear its rhythm, to move with it, not against it. Every time you try to make something happen through effort alone, you're broadcasting the vibration of lack. You're telling life, "I don't have it yet, so I must work harder." And the field, obedient and neutral, mirrors that energy right back. But when you stop pushing, when you breathe into the trust that life knows what it's doing, your frequency shifts. You stop chasing. You start receiving. It's not laziness, it's alignment. It's not passivity, it's peace. It's the quiet confidence that you no longer need to control every detail because you're no longer living from fear. Think of a garden. You don't pull the petals open to make a flower bloom faster. You water the soil, feel the sun, and trust the process. You let nature take its time, and one morning, almost without noticing, you look outside and realize it has blossomed on its own. That's how manifestation works when it's real. Not through tension, but through trust. Not through frantic doing, but through calm allowing. When you're forcing, your energy becomes narrow, rigid, frantic. When you're allowing, your energy becomes open, expansive, magnetic. And that openness is what draws your new reality toward you. The greatest shift happens the moment you stop asking, "How do I make this happen?" and begin asking, "How can I align with what already is?" That question moves you from the mind's small timeline into the soul's infinite one. You stop measuring progress by external signs and start feeling it as an internal rhythm, steady, patient, alive. Because creation was never about control. It was always about coherence. The universe doesn't respond to your effort. It responds to your energy. And energy, when at peace, becomes irresistibly creative. When you stop trying to prove yourself, you stop leaking energy. When you stop defending your worth, you stop generating resistance. And when you stop fighting with time, you start to live in eternity right here. In this moment, that's where all miracles unfold. This is what people miss when they chase awakening. It's not about escaping reality. It's about being so deeply present that reality reshapes itself to match your stillness. You stop pushing the current and finally let the river carry you. You stop trying to manifest from the mind and start manifesting from the frequency of peace. And that peace is not complacency, it's power. Because when you're no longer frantic, you become focused. When you're no longer afraid, you become clear. And in that clarity, your energy turns from noise into signal. Every stuck moment in life is not a wall, it's a mirror. It's showing you the vibration you're still broadcasting. And when you see it, not as punishment, but as feedback, you gain your freedom back. You realize you were never trapped by circumstance. You were only repeating the same frequency. Change the frequency, and everything else must follow. Because the external world is not separate, it's a projection of the inner state. It cannot help but rearrange itself. Once your vibration changes, the old energy begins to dissolve. People, places, and patterns that once defined you fade into the background, and new realities begin to unfold, not because you chase them, but because you finally match their tone. That's the quiet grace of awakening, realizing that doing less often creates more. You begin to understand that allowing is not giving up, it's giving space. And within that space, life can finally exhale into form. The moment you stop grasping, you begin to receive. The moment you stop striving, you begin to arrive. And the moment you stop trying to make it happen, it starts happening through you. The leap, after all, isn't about moving somewhere else. It's about realizing you were never separate from there to begin with. You were always part of the fabric, always the current inside the ocean of existence. You are not the observer of life, you are life observing itself. You start to see that manifestation was never about manipulating the universe, but about becoming transparent enough for it to move through you. You don't push the wave, you become the tide. You don't command reality, you align with its rhythm. You don't demand blessings, you become a space where blessings naturally flow. And that's when the miracles begin, not because you force them, but because you finally stop standing in their way. There's a line I often return to when life feels uncertain. You are not the one creating reality. You are reality becoming aware of itself. That realization ends the struggle, because once you understand that, you see that there's nothing to chase, nothing to prove, nothing to fear. Everything is already here, waiting for your permission to unfold. Not permission in words, but permission in energy, a deep, cellular yes to life as it is. When that yes settles in your body, the old cycle ends. The constant striving, the anxious fixing, the endless becoming, all of it fades. And in the quiet that follows, you realize the leap has already happened. The new reality isn't waiting for you in the future. It's right here, shimmering inside this breath, this awareness, this stillness. So pause, let go, breathe, stop trying to make it happen. Because everything you've ever wanted, peace, love, alignment, freedom, was never something to create. It was something to remember. The old cycle ends here. The new one begins, not with effort, but with presence, not with striving, but with surrender. And as you rest in that presence, you'll feel the quiet pulse of the universe, aligning with your own heartbeat. That is the sound of the leap, happening not in the distance, but here, now, in this sacred, ordinary moment where you finally stop doing and start being.